Alex, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
Doing good, buddy. How you doing?
I am doing well. Appreciate you tuning in. On a quick side note, I got a wedding this weekend. We're actually playing golf Friday at the River Club. You ever ventured down to North Augusta and played the River Club or no?
I've never been down there. No.
Yeah, well, it is a good track if you ever get a chance. Really, really nice as it sounds on the river, the Savannah River that separates Georgia, South Carolina. Pure track. I definitely send you a couple pictures. It's a very pure track. Really, really nice. Really nice. Not too
That's,
difficult, but you got some quick greens, and it's just a nice course, though. It's a nice course. So,
apparently, it'll be beautiful weather. So double
yeah,
prizes.
yeah. It's like a high of 87 Friday, which is crazy.
Huh.
Yeah, so it's gonna be
Higher than
really
I thought you were going to say.
yeah, no, it's gonna be nice in North Augusta. Also another track in the CSRA, Palmetto Golf Club. I don't know if you've heard of that one. That's in Aiken.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
That
yeah.
one's that's a
Palmetto's
gem.
that's a gym. Yeah, historical. I think Bobby Jones like locker is still there or something. And you talk about lightning fast greens. Those are probably the fastest greens in the area for sure of a course you can play. Either
Yeah,
way, though,
probably.
yeah, really, really excited to get back on the links. It's funny, man. I think I'm gonna hit the driving range Thursday, but I'm already like feeling like we're playing with all the dudes and everything. My dad's playing, all the my sister's about to be husband's playing, and all the groomsmen, all that, whatever. And I'm already overthinking it, Alex. When I go out there and I don't care, I shoot well. Especially when I'm not playing for a while. If you go out there and care, that's when you screw it up. Golf is a
Oh, for
beautiful
sure.
game. Golf is a beautiful game that we have ruined with expectations. When you put expectations on golf, you ruin it. You ruin it.
Agreed.
That's it.
Totally agree. Which is why you probably shouldn't go to the driving range at all.
Right. You shouldn't even warm up. Shouldn't even warm up. If I hit
No.
it every time I swing, today was a success.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's it.
And if you have that attitude, you can't leave unhappy unless. And if you do leave unhappy, you should probably just sell your clubs and pick up a tennis racket. So that's neither
Yeah,
here nor there.
just aim small, miss small. That's
Yeah,
it.
I will say on a funny side note, just real quick, when I used to back in college would caddy at Sage Valley, one of the caddies got in trouble because it was like he was on 17 and he got so frustrated because the guy playing. I mean, you would think, right, like a course that's $30,000 a year and a $250,000 initiation fee that there'd be some. I'm not saying real players, but people that play golf, dude, you would be shocked to see the hackers that come out to a beautiful golf course like that. And one of the players asked the caddy on 17, like, you got any advice for my game? And the caddy just real snarky just said, yes, sell your clubs and go play tennis. And he got in trouble for that.
I can see that.
You can't say that to the paying guests, but I mean,
No.
he gave his honest feedback, so I respect it. Anyways, Alex, appreciate you taking the time, man. It's always a pleasure to chat with you. Obviously, we got a lot to discuss and a lot to get into, and I want to jump into immediately because we sit in a huge week, arguably the biggest week of the Shane Beamer era, or at least at this point, it feels that way. But I want to go back to a really funny text, if I can find it, that you sent me. Here we go. During the South Carolina State game,
Oh
you
boy.
said, I'm all the way in on fire sat. The fence post I've been sitting on is chafing my ass lest the swing passes. So the game ended up playing out fairly well. We win 50-10. But, you kind of clump, and I know we already talked about Charlotte last week or whatever, but you kind of clump Charlotte and SC State kind of together, two very similar opponents, two very similar games. Your feelings on the offense coming into this weekend, and I've already gone on record, Alex, and said, this is the game for me. It's either it's going to work and we're going to show progress and we're going to put together a solid offensive performance with, by the way, extra time to prepare for Kentucky since you had a Thursday night game, or we're not. And I think at that point we will know Marcus Satterfield is just not cut out because I feel like, Alex, I've been as patient as possible, defended him all last year, made every excuse in the book. If by the halfway point of this season with all the pieces you have, if it still looks anemic, I'm out. My patience has run out. Where do you stand with everything? How do you feel about the offense to this point? What you saw the last two games, specifically the last game, and then going into this weekend, what you need to see?
I mean, it was nice to see us throw the ball down the field. I mean, it was unfortunate the first one, bounced off some hands and ended up getting picked off. But I mean, that's the risk reward of doing that, right? You throw a 50-50 ball and you see what happens. It's just it's frustrating. It's just been frustrating watching it to this point. And there could be a missing piece in this that we're unaware of or whatever. But to not push the ball down the field with the talent that we do have on the offensive side of the ball and just continuing to throw swing passes and wide receiver screens and, all of that jazz and not feature who you thought would be dominant players in the offense. It's just tough. It's just tough to watch.
It is. And swing pass Sat, by the way, is the nickname that I've given Marcus Satterfield at this point, because I don't know. Like, on one hand, I'm like, maybe I'm over exaggerating, but on the other, I'm like, I have never seen an offense throw. Like, it reminds me of the old Clemson offense. Like when Dabo first got there and they were just bubble screening you to death.
That was the Billy Napier offense.
Right. Yeah. That's what it feels like to me. And I see a comment here, by the way, Lady Bree, who's a staunch Satterfield defender and whatever, says that we could lose 48-45. Everybody blames Satterfield. I disagree with that completely. I disagree with that completely. I mean, I think 30-plus offensive points at Kentucky, I will feel better. Because and I just said this, Alex, and I'll get your take in as we go into this Kentucky game, because I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about SC State. It is what it is. You did what you need to do. This game against Kentucky, you look at the Wildcats. I still think they're overrated at 13th. I really do. They were overrated as hell being a top 10 team. I'm not saying they're not a good team, but they're overrated at 13 in my mind. But you look at them defensively, solid group, but they're not Georgia. They're not Alabama. Like, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to move the football to some degree. And if you can't, Alex, and if you have to tip your cap to Kentucky, then I think you have to reevaluate where you are as a football program. If you're at that point, then you're not what you think you are. You know what I mean? Like, give all the credit in the world to Kentucky, but if we're now starting to clump Kentucky up there with the Tennessees and the Georgias and the Floridas, we got bigger issues on our hands.
Yeah, and casually observing Kentucky to this point in the season, I certainly don't think they're at that level by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, it is entirely possible Tennessee isn't either. We'll find out more about that this weekend, and then they got to play Alabama the weekend after that. But yeah, I'm with you. I think they're. I mean, I said it last week. Certainly I didn't think they were the number 8 team in the country by any stretch of the imagination, which is why they were a 6-point dog to Ole Miss when that line opened. So, us coming into this plus 10.5 seems. I don't know. That seems like a lot to me, because I'm with you. I don't know that we've really seen anything from Kentucky to this point in the season that shows you that they're world beaters by any stretch of the imagination. So, certainly you've got every opportunity to put something together here and have a very successful outing. And it's just like, can we put those pieces together to make that happen? And that's just going to involve doing more than, running counters and throwing swing passes. We're gonna have to feature some playmakers in this one.
Yeah, and I will say, to your point, because it's not all bad, right? I did see them take some shots down the field. The unfortunate interception, they went down the field there. The deep ball to Jalen Brooks. He comes down, which, by the way, Jalen Brooks has established himself as a big-time playmaker for you. It's been incredible what he's done. I loved the play action to Jaheim Bell. He's obviously got to touch it more. I think that's still where, Alex, I find myself still wanting to see more. Is even coming out of Charlotte and SC State, where you feel like your playmaker should be featured a lot. Like a guy like Jaheim Bell, it just still feels like he's being criminally underutilized. Josh Vann is a complete non-factor. Outside of returning a couple punts here and there. And, it's just, are you getting the most out of the offense? I think most would say no to this point. But again, this week can really change the narrative. I'll ask you on that note, Alex. I labeled this game over the summer the greatest inflection point of the season, because I look at it kind of that way for Kentucky too. And maybe some would disagree, and that's a little bit over exaggerating because there's a lot of football left. But I just kind of feel like this is the fork in the road, right? For the Gamecocks especially. Like, if you're going to go win 7 games, let's say, this is one you need to win. This is one you need to take, right? You lose this one, you may still get to 6, but you're going to feel like you're fighting this uphill climb, this uphill battle, basically for the remainder of this season, or until you win a game over a quality opponent, right? I think almost for more so the health of the fan base and the health of the program regards to the mentality of this season. That's why you more so need this win than anything, because nothing would sting more than to go into the bye week, right? 3-3, 0-3 in conference play. You don't have a quality win. Your best win is over at this point, 1-4 Georgia State team. Boy, don't we look foolish for hyping them up after week one. They're not worth a damn. No offense to Sean Elliott, they ain't worth a damn. But let me ask you this: do you feel like folks are making too much of this game? Because there's a lot of people that are putting this is it. This is the game. It's like either you win this one and the hopes and expectations and dreams of this season are still alive, or you lose and your season's broken practically.
No, I think it's a bigger fork in the road just because of it's a night game on the road that we haven't won in quite some time. And I think that's more where you're going to see the fork in this road is can the players on this roster step up to that moment? Or even just if you can get out there, and I hate to even say this, but if you can get out there and just be competitive and fight and keep it to where it's a fourth quarter game that could go either way. I think that's what everybody wants to see. It's just the maturation process of this team in year 2 under Shane Beamer.
I know you'd agree with this, Alex. I mean, if you go out there and lay another egg, heads have
got
to roll in some capacity. I mean, it's just because I think, Alex, that's the internal dilemma. Maybe you can help me out with this, but that's the internal dilemma I've had this week is that, we are exactly where I picked us to be at this point. We're 3-2. It's exactly where I picked us. And over the preseason, I said, we're going to be 3-2 and we're going to beat Kentucky on the road because Spencer Rattler's going to outduel Will Levis and we're going to do just enough and we're going to win 31-24. I haven't locked in my prediction for this weekend. I don't really know how to feel because, again, we're where I thought we'd be exactly. I mean, some of my score predictions from the summer have been scary close. I had 49-10 over SC State in July. 50-10 was the final. Pat myself on the back for that one. But anyways, but it doesn't feel like I thought it would. You know what I mean? It just doesn't feel like I thought it would. Why do you think that is? I think it's because the lack of competitiveness we've seen in the bigger games. And I think it stems back all the way to the season opener.
Yeah.
Not playing worth a damn against Georgia State, So I don't know. It's just a weird feeling, Alex. It's a mix of emotions for me right now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree because it feels a lot like last year to some extent. It's more, I don't want to say disappointing because it's kind of, you're right. It's exactly where you think they're going to be, but it just doesn't look. It's exactly what I said last week. It just doesn't look different than it did last year. And I think that's the tough part of this is you've got a healthy Marshawn Lloyd, who was a 5-star prospect coming out of high school. You got Spencer Rattler transfers in, 5-star quarterback coming out of high school. You get Stogner from Oklahoma, who's a 4-star tight end coming out of high school. And then you have all these other pieces back on that offense with one more spring, one more fall practice under their belts to shore this up. And it just, for whatever reason, it just hasn't clicked. And I think that's why, when was the last time we hung 50 in back-to-back weeks?
It's been quite a while. I think 1995 was what they said.
Okay.
And that year we hung 53 3 games in a row.
All right. Well,
I'll take that.
Yeah. But that it's just not clicking. And I think that's why it's more disheartening, disappointing because of the players that you've added this offseason that should have improved the offense tremendously. And it just, for whatever reason, it just hasn't clicked. And I don't know. I mean, we could speculate what that reason is, but I wanted to ask you too, I assume you watch most of the press conferences.
Yes. You talking about the Tuesday pressers or the post games?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we watch them. So we watch them on here. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is there does any reporter in the pool ask why they're not featuring Van and Bell? Has that come up once?
Alex, thank God you asked me that question. I mean, and it's no knock on the big J journos out there, but it is the most softball, just easy. Listen, Alex, nobody's going to ask a question that you want asked, and nobody's going to ask a question that I would ask because, listen, you know why they won't give me credentials, and I don't want them, for everybody who's wondering, because I would be in there for one presser, and then they take them away. Because I'm gonna ask what I want to ask. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna censor it. I'm not gonna. So no, they're not asking that, Alex. They're not gonna.
Okay.
They're not gonna apply any sort. The only guy that can apply pressure, and Gamecock fans hate him, Phil Kornblue. And I get some of his questions are ridiculous, but at least he's willing to apply pressure. At least he's willing to ask an uncomfortable question. So I don't mean to go off on a tangent on that, but to answer your question, Alex, no, they are not, and no, they will not. Just put it that way.
And you know what the thing is like there could be a very like reasonable explanation for that, but it's just like we're kind of left to speculate, like especially like after watching last year, where Van's your number one, and then all of a sudden Jaheim Bell emerges halfway through the year and it's just like a borderline unstoppable force. If you get the football in his hands, then it's like we're not featuring that, and it's just like it leaves all these questions. I don't know. It's just
well, and I think Alex, to your point about the playmakers and who's touching the football, and you saw Antoine Wells, I think, have 7 catches in week 1, 0 against Georgia, and Beamer made the point that well, 1 week we're going to have a guy get this many catches, and the next week we got a bunch of different guys. I think you're at the point now where it's like I disagree. Like there are guys on your offense that need to touch the ball. If you were scoring 50 a game, then that would fly with me. It's like, okay, well, this week it'll be this guy, and this week it'll be that guy, and that's all fun and dandy. Everybody gets to touch the football and have a great season. But like right now, you need to force feed the ball to the guys that are going to be proven playmakers, like Marshawn Lloyd, Juice Wells, Jaheim Bell, Jalen Brooks at this point, right? Juju McDowell. Like these are guys, they can't go with 0 touches. Like Jaheim Bell can't have 1 touch. I equated it to, I forget if I should have brought this up to Garcia too. Maybe I'll do it next week because we'll probably play like shit on offense again. But
that's the spirit.
Right. But, no, hopefully we score 50 and we're having a different combo. But anyways, I just equated to this. I was like, and I think we may have talked about this, but like imagine like back in 2010 or 2011 or whatever, we're like, Lattimore 1 week has 30 carries for 180 and 3 touchdowns. And the next week he has like 4 carries. And we're like, well, some weeks he's going to touch it and some weeks he's not. It's like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? He's our best player.
Yeah.
So it gets confusing. Let me ask you this, because I've talked a lot about Alex, make or break game for Satterfield. What about Spencer Rattler, man? And what are your takes? I made him my MVP after the game against SCC. I thought he played well. He was efficient. Those 2 picks were not on him, obviously. Shane Beamer even mentioned that they made him the offensive MVP, which I would say great minds think alike there. But your thoughts? I mean, you're not going to take a lot away from the South Carolina State game, right? You're just not. Thoughts on his play, though, of late and how important this game is for him?
I think it's huge. It's, for his first night SEC game on the road. So, I mean, in what is a quality opponent. And I hesitate to even say he's really even played that poorly. I mean, he threw the ball well against Arkansas. He's thrown the ball well. I mean, as much as they've let him throw it well, the last couple of weeks, those 2 interceptions were not on him, but I don't even know that we've seen what he can do. Like that one pass he threw against Georgia State where he was rolling out and threw like a 50-yard dime to Jalen Brooks. Like that is what I was expecting. And it's like, I don't know why we're not like calling those plays or pushing the ball down the field. Like the stuff that I would think he would be really good at, it seems like we're not doing. And I don't know what the reason for that is. But I don't think I certainly don't think he's played lights out, but he hasn't played poorly either.
Well, it's funny, Alex, you look at, I think it was his QBR. I think he's dead last in the SEC right now in QBR.
Saw that. Yep. Nope. That's a tough look. That's a tough look.
Dude, isn't it more of an indictment on Sat, though? Like, because Spencer Rattler's played good football. This isn't just like a recruit that we thought would be good. Like, this is a guy who's played really good football, and like you have literally taken this man and destroyed him to this point. I mean, I'm not trying to be like over the top, but I mean, I know QBR is a flawed statistic, but you don't want to be last in it.
No, last is bad.
Last is bad.
Last is bad. I don't know how much of that, like, well, admittedly, I don't know how they calculate QBR, but I assume a lot of it just has to do with like completion statistics, touchdowns.
It's like WAR in baseball, wins above replacement. Like, what does that really mean? Like, I just, whatever.
I don't know. I mean, it worked at Lincoln Riley's offense, so I mean, obviously, he knows how to play football. It's just like you got to put him in the right position for him to be successful. And I don't know. You move from, because, and this is kind of like a weird caveat to this question, so my apologies, but it's like you go, like, obviously your most talented player in high school, you're going to stick at quarterback, and like where everybody's kind of morphed that game is, spread it out and throw it 40 times a game. So he did that in high school. He gets to Oklahoma. He's doing the exact same thing in Oklahoma. We're just throwing it all over the field. And it's like you've made this transition now to a pro style offense, which is something he's never truly run before. And so you could see where there would be like some hesitation or some like, a learning curve associated with that. At the same time, if you adjust your scheme to make it work better, that's where I would take it, instead of being stubborn and sitting and like, no, this is what we're going to do. And yes, on the comments, yes, I know he did get benched at Oklahoma, but Caleb Williams is okay. I think we could all agree.
Not a slapdick, confirmed.
No, he'll be a Heisman finalist. Yeah, so, I don't. It's like I feel like there's some learning curve associated with that, just because it's something you've never done. I mean, like I don't think he took snaps under center at Oklahoma at all. And so now you've kind of morphed into that realm where you're not catching the ball 5 yards back. You're having to drop back, and kind of how all of that plays into it. It's just a learning curve. So some of it's that, and some of it, it's too many bubble screens.
Yeah. Swing past that. Now, what's funny though, Alex, we're going to spend all week talking offense, and I understand why. Big game for the defense too. You look at them. It was as you'd expect again against Charlotte SC State, pretty dominant but leaky at times. And we've seen against quality competition, man, the Gamecocks have struggled to stop the run, right? Over 200 yards rushing allowed against Georgia State, Arkansas, Georgia. Again, those are high-quality teams, but here come the Kentucky Wildcats, and what do? Well, they run the football, right? They got Chris Rodriguez back. And I know their offensive line has been shoddy, but if you look at the history of this series, line of scrimmage play is at a premium because they've won 7 of 8 against you, which I want to throw up as I say that, but they've won 7 of 8 against you. And in those 8, and I know it sounds obvious, but it's just they have physically whipped you at the point of attack, and the team that wins the line of scrimmage wins this football game. And more often than not, that's been Kentucky. Alex, I think you got to look for a big performance up front. I'm really excited or intrigued to see what Clayton White does to combat that Kentucky rushing attack. And, of course, they've got Will Levis, who, whether you think he's overrated or not, he's a highly rated guy. And, many folks think he's a first-rounder. So, it's going to be an interesting battle. That Gamecocks defense, who's not getting as much attention, you're going to have to stop the run to have any shot in this one.
Yeah, they're going to do what Arkansas tried to do and just run it down our throat. And just control the clock, keep the ball in their hands, march down the field at will on the ground, and whatever you can do to combat that, right? And it's almost like, what we talked about going into the Georgia week was stacking the box and making them beat you over the top, right? And I think you saw Missouri try to do that this past weekend, where they just stacked the running lanes and forced them to go through the air to beat them, which eventually they did. But I think you got to take kind of the same approach with Kentucky. Like, we're like the strongest points, I think, to this point on our defense is still it's got to still be the secondary, right?
I would say so. Yes. I mean, I don't know how you could. You're certainly not going to say linebacker, and Yeah, you'd have to say secondary. Yes, when fully healthy, especially, which they should be this weekend. You're going to get Darius Rush back. I think David Spalding should be good to go. You're led by Cam Smith, preseason All-American. Yeah, I'd say the secondary is your strength. Yeah.
So that's what I would try. That's what I would attempt to do if I was drawing up defenses in the dirt. Like stack that run and make them beat you over the top.
Yeah, I mean, you got to take something away. Yeah, you have to take something away, right? If Levis has a Heisman caliber type game, I guess again you just try to tip your cap to him. But it's back to the old adage: if you can run the football, you can stop the run. You're going to have a great chance to win. I mean, that's been the name of the game in this. You look at last year, Alex, which you and I think saw that one very realistically. Gave Kentucky all the credit in that one, and I think the only Gamecock content creator that had the nuts to pick Kentucky to win the game. And sure enough, they did. And you look at their final result, I think they outrushed you like 240 to 58. I mean, it's just proofs in the pudding. You know what I mean? It's just, and they've done that year after year after year after year against you. We got a question, Alex, from the crowd, if you will. A good buddy of mine, John Rice, sent this in. Spencer Rattler, as of now, do you think he's back next year?
Probably. How is he 20? Is he 22?
I think he's 21. I think he's 21.
Is he 21? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm pretty sure he just turned – no, excuse me. He just turned 22. You are correct. He just turned 22. I did see that because his birthday was literally last week. His birthday was the SC State game. Yeah. Okay. Just turned 22.
Okay. I would probably 60-40 he's back. Somewhere in that general vicinity. I don't think it's a lock by any stretch of the imagination, but I think there's some credence to him coming back for sure.
And this is as of now too. So I mean, if he plays well down the stretch, I could definitely. I mean, I think the plan all along was for him to bolt to the NFL, but certainly I don't think he's going to make a bad business decision. If his draft stock, I mean, if the season continues to go as it does, his draft stock inevitably is going to take a hit. I mean, there's just no other way to put it. It already has. I mean, it already has at this point. So, but yeah, I think you're fair as of now. I mean, he's got a lot still to work on and develop.
He does.
So, but
he does. But I mean, I guess now it kind of wades into like, does he have the physical tools to do it? Yes. And it's just like now you're just kind of playing that ticking clock game. So if it's you go into a pro day or you go to the combine or whichever direction he takes it and he has a good performance, like he's going to push himself back into that conversation because of the potential he has. So I guess it just depends on how the rest of the season plays out.
Now, Alex, speaking on Kentucky, you were on the team that went there in 2008. We talked and 2006, I guess, right?
That was the reverse pass year.
Yeah, the trick. Yeah, but I say the trick play game. I don't know if you want to quite go as viral as your buddy Steven Garcia did when he said that Kentucky was an easy place to play. And that video right now is sitting at, I think, 41,000 views, Alex, because Kentucky Nation got their hands on it. I don't know if you want to go, I mean, hey, that's why I have Steven on, Alex. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the
Steven's got great takes.
Yes, Steven knows how to make his presence felt. We'll just leave it at that. No, and we love him for it. But anyways, I'll just ask you your thoughts and your experiences. Obviously, Kentucky playing there has changed a lot. Mark Stoops has basically changed that program. But just recall your two experiences. Again, 2 wins. So you are undefeated at Kentucky. But, 2 interesting games, but 2 hard-fought games. I mean, that trick play game, I think y'all won 24-17 both times you were there. But anyways, what do you recall from those games in Lexington?
I mean, I don't disagree with him. I mean, it's obviously not in the realm of like, a Sanford Stadium or Neyland or the Swamp or, any of those places. But I mean, it's not like a church gathering either. Like there's some noise there. I will tell you this, they had and I'm sure this has changed 9 times over since I've been there, but they definitely had the nicest visiting locker rooms in the SEC. So kudos to Kentucky for that. But I mean, I wouldn't call it quiet, but it's just not to the level of those other top tier venues. It can't be. It's not nearly as big.
Even when we're trying to be complimentary about Kentucky, it's just literally impossible. And you know what's so funny? You know what's so funny, Alex, is like that's why I think Kentucky fans hate South Carolina so much, because our fan base refuses to give them any credit. Like our fan base still, I don't know if we're just so oblivious or ignorant or what we are, but we still just look at Kentucky as like scum of the earth. Like you are not even they are Vanderbilt still. To most fans, they are Vanderbilt. That's how our fan base views this game.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious. I love it. I love it personally.
Well, from a historical standpoint, certainly that's not horribly far off, but they've definitely turned a corner here to where they're a lot more competitive than they have been historically, and that makes it will be a tougher environment than it has been in years past, just because they've tasted that success now, right? And so you go out there. When did they win 10 games last year? They 10
last year, yeah, they've won 4 straight bowl games.
Yeah, so you start to add that stuff up, it gets fan engagement up, so it's definitely going to be a different environment than the one that, I played in or the one that Steven played in, just because Kentucky football has come so far from that point. So it'll be a different scene than what we experienced for sure.
I want to ask you this, Alex, before I get you out of here really quickly. I'm trying to find the banter or the conversation, if you will. Let's see. Okay, because unfair in year 2. But you see it across college football, right? We're seeing Colorado's head coach just got fired. Scott Frost, obviously, at Nebraska got fired. Wisconsin's coach just got fired, right? And I saw some stat yesterday. I'm going to paraphrase. I'm going to butcher it probably. But like when these coaches were fired, they all had less than 3 losses or less in their season when they were fired. And dude, we're not even at the halfway point yet. People are getting canned, right? And so it's a very much win now mentality across college football. Somebody brought this up, that it took Frank Beamer 8 years before he got his first 10-win season at Virginia Tech. Now we all think of Vatek and they were fantastic, right? There's a reason he's a Hall of Famer. He's got some sort of documentary coming out on ACC Network. Like, he changed Virginia Tech football. My question to you, Alex, is this, because I know you see and you hear the commentary, and do you fear that Shane Beamer won't get as much time as he needs?
No.
No. Okay.
I don't.
Yeah.
Because the result, as much as we probably as much as we're frustrated with where this season has gone, like, look back to where we were 2 years ago or 3 years ago. You go 4-8 and 2-8. Like, and then the first year you're winning a bowl game, you're climbing up recruiting rankings. Like, those pieces are coming into the fold now. It's just you just got to keep developing. It takes time. You had a pretty hard fall off there from where we were from 2011 to 2013, and that bottomed out with a loss to the Citadel. And then you tried to get that engine going back the other direction with the wrong conductor, and you just kind of set yourself back. So you've got to build that back into the pipeline. And I think he is absolutely doing those things. It's unfortunate that it's, cropped up that, who is he surrounding himself with to get us there? But I don't think he's in any danger of getting run out of town early.
I know it feels like a silly question, Alex, but it's just the nature of college football, and coaches are getting – it's kind of like people make up their mind after year 3. Coaches are just not getting 6, 7, 8 years anymore to get it going. So I do agree.
Well, Scott Frost was they never even made a bowl game, did they?
No, I don't think so. He got into year 5. So, he was their
Muschamp.
He was their Muschamp, basically. Granted, Muschamp had success, which is pretty sad. So,
still stunned that didn't work. He was so good at UCF. I don't. What? That's not even there.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so I mean, I know it feels like a crazy question, but it's just with the nature of college football, and I guess it's because of the money numbers and the transfer portal and the pressures is high. I will say though, number one, the beauty of this is that if South Carolina beats Kentucky, we're just having a totally different combo going in the bye week, and all hope is restored. And we're looking at things from a glass half full perspective. And you could win this. Look how bad A&M looks. You could win this game. I mean, Carolina could be sitting here 5-2 in 3 weeks. I mean, you just never know. College football.
No,
Is a
I mean,
crazy
but
game.
that's
Yeah.
a legit thing because
Yeah.
like who left on the schedule is unbeatable.
I mean, I'd say, Clemson obviously, unfortunately, looks like they're going to have a typical year. I mean, Tennessee's still kind of a mystery. I think they're a good football team, but they're still kind of a mystery. I mean, outside of that, everybody else is very beatable. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. And so it's like that the narrative change with a win in Kentucky is gigantic for momentum going forward.
oh yeah,
Because like Texas A&M, certainly they are not world beaters. Missouri's not, Vandy's not, and then you've got Florida is what it is. It's a very Jekyll and Hyde situation for them right now. So yeah, I mean, hope is restored to your point if you can pull this one out.
Yeah, a lot of football left. A lot can happen, but it's got to start Saturday. It has to start Saturday with a win in Lexington. Marcus Satterfield's got to be. I don't know if we should somebody go tie him up and leave him back in Columbia, and we'll get Justin Stepp to call. I don't know. I don't know. Let's go find somebody. Leave him behind. Just leave him behind. I don't know.
Speaking of coaches being left behind, what happened to Greg Adkins?
Health issues supposedly. I mean, not supposedly. Health issues. So
is he back?
Beamer said that Sunday he had no update. I'd imagine they're going to ask him that today. Lonnie Teasley, who is a GA, I say he's a GA, but he's coached at a couple places before, but he is a GA, but or whatever he is. Anyways, he's the fill-in O-line coach. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think Adkins, this is like not even football related. I think it's probably time to hang it up if you're second straight year dealing with health issues. So we'll see. I mean, obviously you just hope he's okay, but yeah, it's came out the day of the SC State game that he wasn't with the team. So
yeah, again, I saw that.
I'm sure Beamer will address that today. I'd imagine he'll have to. So yeah.
Now, if we could get him to address the lack of touches for Jaheim Bell.
Yeah, it'd be great. I don't know that. I don't know who in the world in that room would ask that. Either way, Alex, it's always a pleasure, my guy. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for doing it, and we'll talk next week, same time.